Hi there. Today we're going to talk about the basics of collage, what it is, how to do it, and what materials to use. It's basically going to be a good overview for beginners. So if you've been looking to try collage out, but you're not really sure how to get started, you're in the right place. So the thing about collage is that I feel like it is such a great way to get creating. And there really are no rules. So you want to keep that in mind as you are starting your practice. There are three things I want you to think about as you are creating some sort of collage practice. You want to work with what you're comfortable with. You don't have to use supplies that you are unsure about or that you don't like. You also want to work with what you have. There's no need to go out and buy all new supplies for collage because you can use anything. You can use box tops, you can use cardboard, you can use bubble wrap, you can use scrapbook paper, you can use old photographs. There's a lot of different things that you can use to incorporate into your art. And the third thing is you want to start small. I feel like the smaller you start, the less intimidating it is. And also, you don't need a lot of time and space when you start small. If you start something really big, it becomes overwhelming and you're not really sure how to wrap it up or finish it. I want to show you a little bit of my mini collage practice. I make one of these every day, and I have just found it to be such a big help in getting my art practice started and also keep me motivated and inspired to try new things and to just really hone my skills. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And some of the days I make these and I don't like it, and that's okay too. But that's why they call it a practice. You just keep trying. When you are starting some kind of collage practice, what I would suggest is to just pick a size so you can focus on the process repetitively. You don't want to use an index card one day and then a huge 16 by 20 piece of paper the next day, because what that does is it overwhelms you with the actual size and not the practice. You also want to choose papers that appeal to you. So these are papers that I made on my jelly plate. I create the papers and the colors I want to use in my collage. So these were just made, within a few minutes on my jelly plate. I'm going to show you a video up in the corner about jelly printing so you can get started on that as well. So I would also try to stick to a few colors. You don't want to use every color of the rainbow when you're collaging because then can kind of get a little bit distracting and muddy. So pick colors that appeal to you, that you won't get overwhelmed by. And then try out some patterns if you can. You can also use a viewfinder to kind of see what areas you like of a certain piece. You can use it to kind of identify what areas kind of appeal to you. And then also, you just want to play. You want to have fun when you're making a collage. You don't want it to be work. So, whatever's going to get you to that point, that's what you want to do. If you find yourself getting frustrated, what can you have more fun with? Can you rip the paper? Can you use different materials? Can you put the glue down? Use different supplies. You don't want to overthink it too much. Ask yourself, what do I like about this? The daily practice will give you more confidence. It'll show you your own art style, which is ultimately probably what you're looking for. Some days will be good, some will not, and you'll learn from both. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of my process here and kind of show you how I collage. I do have these jelly prints that I pulled out. I also have these scrapbook papers that I could use. And I was also sent these little mini collage papers to try out. So I'm going to use a few of them in this collage session. They do have a bunch of little papers that are really helpful to use when you're collaging small. So there's like different marbled papers. It's called Cottage Garden, all different colors in there. This has some interesting like postal papers. These are like graph papers. And these are some pretty flowers that you can use as accents. So I'm just going to try out a few of these papers and just show you some of my process along the way. Remember, when you're creating a collage, it's really about what you like, what you're interested in, and kind of what makes your heart feel good when you look at it. So what I use when I'm collaging is a glue stick. Sometimes when I have thicker paper, I will use satin medium. It's really easy to use, and I apply it with the paintbrush. Now, the index card isn't very thick. I mean, it has a little heaviness to it, but when you start applying wet medium to it, it does tend to curl. So when I'm using a medium on here, I generally stick to the glue stick, or I was also sent the glue tape to try out as well. So I picked out a few of these papers that I thought would look kind of interesting together. These are pretty neutral colors, so I can kind of grab some bursts of color from here. So maybe I'll use a little of this teal color, and I do like this print as well. Adds in a little pink, and I'm not really thinking too much about the shape or the size. I'm just kind of ripping it, and we'll see how it works out. And this is a great option to use because it's deli paper, so it makes it kind of transparent. You could see through to the papers when you use it on top of another collage paper. So what I like to do is just kind of play around with them a little bit before I put any down. And I'm also trying to stick to not too many colors so it doesn't get overwhelming. So just kind of following my instinct, not really trying too hard to make it matchy-matchy. And I do tend to like to have a focal point. So I'm going to use this flower I made. It is just some fodder that I made from some metallic watercolors that I had. So just kind of playing around with the different options, seeing what sizes make sense. You don't want to think too hard about it because then you start trying to make everything perfect and it just doesn't work that way. You can also always add some paint or stamps or stencils. So I'm just going to kind of push these aside and put some glue down and see how it looks. So when I collage, I usually start with paper. And then I move on to using either markers or paint and making some other kind of marks on it. And I find that when I'm working this small, the glue stick is really, really easy to use. And this one, the Yoo-hoo stick, works great. Kind of edit as you go. And now what I normally do is just kind of trim off what's sticking off of the index card, just so I can get a better idea of how the finished product is going to look. So I am keeping it pretty neutral. So I figure I can add some stamps. So I have this white stamp that I like. Just kind of see what would go with it. I'm going to use, I like this number stamp. Again, not thinking too hard about it, just kind of having fun and playing with it. Glue tape on this one. This is easy to use. You just rub it just like white out. Gonna add a little color. Okay, and that's it. Something as simple as that. Only took a few minutes. Sometimes I add a sentiment. I can use a little deli paper. Very easy and such a great practice to have every day so that I can relax, get creative, and work on my own style and skills. If you're looking to start small, these are great paper to start with. They give you some interesting options. I'm going to include a link to them in the description below. So I hope this was helpful today and it will help you create your own collage practice. And as you get more involved in collage, just Keep in mind you want to use what you like, keep it simple, and practice often. The more you do it, the more you'll improve your skills, and probably the more you'll enjoy it. I'm going to put 2 more videos right here, mixed media art tutorials that include a lot of collage and can show you a little bit more on my process and how I create. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.